Hey, what's up, y'all? Even though I realize these things are all moot since, you know, we know people that are willing to weigh the evidence and be logical with, theological texts. We know that God doesn't exist, so I realize that this kind of point is moot, but I still like to point shit like this out anyways. As you can see, the video is titled Heaven and Hell are ethnocentric and geocentric concepts. So I'm gonna just jump into that, put my 2 cents into that, because heaven and hell have a lot to do with the staying power of religion. So I find that most Christians, Muslims, and to a certain extent even atheists don't really have a good conception of what heaven and hell are. Atheists don't. It doesn't really matter because we don't believe that they exist. That they're places of possible destinations. And in Islam they lay out some elegant fucking ideas of what heaven is with their virgins and stuff like that. One would have to assume that let's start with the basic question: Are heaven and hell physical or metaphysical? Now, we have to assume that they're metaphysical because our bodies clearly stay here. We put them motherfuckers in the ground, or burn them, put them in the morgue, what have you. So let's deal with hell, the place of eternal torment that's oh so necessary for religions to invoke fear in people. Shit, that was nasty. So, hell's constantly portrayed as being down, and this at least makes an inkling of sense because we know down from the earth you go to the core and it's a hot place. At least makes a little bit of sense, right? So, is hell an earthly place like the core? There's a lot of people that claim to have recorded the sounds of hell. Screaming souls in hell. Really, they're just recording ground vibrations in the Scandinavian desert, or the movement of plates, or underground rushing water. They claim that they're screaming souls, so whatever. Let's let them have that. Then they're claiming that hell is a physical place. You feel me? If you can record it with an earthly tape recorder, then it's a physical place. So they're claiming that hell is a physical place that is somewhere under the Ukraine or whatever. That just I don't really get that. You can't escape the problem of dualism just because you're dealing with dead people. If you can physically interact with it, recording it, it's physical in nature, and it doesn't make sense as a physical place because it's supposed to be where where your soul goes for all eternity. And if it's a physical place, it's really hard to imagine eternity and a bunch of other things. And I believe that the general consensus is that it's not a physical place. People that think they have hard evidence of heaven and hell are just contradicting themselves as soon as they say such a thing. Which is just stupid. So at least the down with hell makes a little bit of sense because at least there is a fucking down. Heaven is up, supposedly. It's connected with all kind of up imagery and ascension. But like what the Bronze Age man didn't realize is that there ain't no fucking up. Alright? There's no up. If you go up from the Earth's surface, you go through the clouds and the atmosphere and whatnot, and then you get to space. But here's what you gotta realize. The moon is not up. Mars ain't up. Venus ain't fucking up. The sun is not fucking up. They're out there in space just like we are. They're not up, man. This concept of up is old, archaic, and geocentric. Okay? It makes sense that a Bronze Age man would think that. It really does. If it doesn't make sense now, like, it shouldn't make sense to you. You know, and only an archaic, geocentric view of things allows you to maintain this celestial concept of up. So if heaven isn't up, where is it? Like, we can allow that maybe it's in the clouds, maybe it's in our atmosphere, place that could actually be considered up. If it's physical in nature, we would have found it, definitely. So I'm gonna have to go with that. It's metaphysical in nature. Now, if it's metaphysical in nature, all these people that claim to have experienced it need to shut up. Okay, because even tripping on DMT after you have brain trauma is still a physical fucking experience. Alright, it's not an out-of-body, soulful experience. Alright? So, you know, on top of that, heaven has got to be the most controlled place imaginable. Okay? Like, lots of atheists say that, hypothetically speaking, if heaven and hell existed, they'd much rather be in hell. Because all the cool people would be down there and there'd be shit to do. Heaven is gotta be the most controlled place fathomable. If there's a God, then there's no free will on this planet, but at least there's the appearance that there's free will. In heaven, there wouldn't even be such a delusion that you just not have the freedom to do anything under God's despotism, except what He wanted and what was perfect. Like, you wouldn't nothing. That seems to suck. So, like, I know complete submission is valued in Islam and Christianity, most forms of Christianity. But as for me, I'd rather not have the worth and free will of a sock puppet. It just doesn't work for me. So if you take heaven and hell on blind faith because God said so through a bunch of deceased Middle Eastern men, that's fine. At least you're being logically consistent there, even though it's still silly. You know, I would love video responses or comments about people's conceptions of heaven or hell. So my conception of heaven and hell are simplified geocentric concepts that a person or people 2,000 years ago, however long ago you want to put their roots, believe made sense. Maybe they were just lying. That part doesn't really matter. But that person or people, they quickly realized that people living in fear are much more likely to shut the fuck up, to behave, to pay their taxes, to break their fucking rocks, to farm their fucking land and give you some of that, all that shit. You know what I'm saying? Coming from where I come from, I know a hustle when I see it, and that's a hustle. Alright, y'all. Peace.